Every now and then, you'll find yourself in a position to have a difficult conversation with someone. Sometimes it's every day, sometimes it seems like every hour, but sooner or later, you're going to be confronted with circumstance that puts you in an uncomfortable position of communicating information that you'd rather not have to communicate. And this video is all about how to handle those conversations. I'll just give you some examples. Having to fire someone at work, telling someone they have a terminal disease, informing someone they did not pass their class, needing to confront a friend or relative who's an addict, saying no to another date, declining an invitation because you don't want to go, revealing to a spouse or partner an infidelity, telling him or her that you want a divorce, telling your kid that they can't do what all the other kids are doing, or informing a candidate that they did not get the job. As you can tell, not all difficult conversations are created equal. And it's not my intent to make any of the above conversations equal. I just want to validate that they're touchy and can be very painful and even have explosive results. It is my intention to just offer a few tips that will help you consider your delivery of the information and the potential impact it might have on the receiver of the information. I'll also make a few suggestions as to what you might want to consider if you receive negative or unwanted information. The first principle is to be aware. Be aware of the potential risks of delivering hard information. Consider how the person might respond and consider how you might deliver the information as kindly as you can, but minimize the risk of an emotional explosion or hurting their feelings or causing a battle. Consider all the topics we've talked about in previous videos. What does your tone or body language convey? Is it consistent with the verbal message? Are you using I statements or are you being accusatory in your tone? Are you defending yourself or just openly communicating facts? There are lots of things to consider when you communicate. With some practice, it'll become second nature for you to think of all of them and it won't feel so burdensome. Remember, as I've said from the beginning, with regular calming practice like breathing exercises or meditation, you become so comfortable with yourself that it makes much easier to be comfortable with others. But let's examine some of these difficult conversations just to work through a few of the principles of clear and effective communication. If, for example, you find yourself in a position of needing to terminate someone's employment, there are certain things you want to consider. Number one, be prepared. Do you have your documentation to support your decision? It's best to know why you're doing something and have substantiation if you need it. Number two, have you exhausted all your options to try to keep them employed? Have you discussed the problems that have arisen in previous interviews? Have you given them opportunities to make amends? Number three, have you anticipated how they might react and taken steps to allay any problems caused by that? Could they be angry and take with them company documents? Will you arrange for supervision then on the way out? Number four, have you considered how they might feel and planned your talk accordingly? Will they be surprised? Will they possibly feel devastated? Are they likely to be angry or accusatory? The best delivery is always direct communication. Do not beat around the bush. Of course, you might want to start by saying something, whatever you can, that is positive about them. It might even go something like this. Dave, I appreciate how you've maintained a positive attitude as we've worked through the issues you're having here at work. However, as we discussed in our previous interview, I've still not seen any improvement in your sales, and it hasn't been enough to meet our company standards, and I'm going to have to let you go. Have you checked your attitude so that you can be kind and forgiving, supportive, and remain steadfast in your decision at the same time? It's easier to be confident if you've done your homework and anticipated potential problems and done what you can to mitigate problems. Then, if they get emotional, which they likely will, you can compassionately hold that space for a few minutes, let them emote, and then say, okay, I'm going to have to ask for your keys. Let's go back to your office and pick up the things. I'll walk you out. Keep breathing slowly and calmly to make sure that the energy you're sending is strong, calm, and confident. I think the main points in those interactions are planning and anticipating and keeping yourself as steady as possible. Of course, if you don't have the time to plan ahead because you have a surprised difficult conversation, like someone that you've been dating asks you out, but you've been thinking of cutting it off, the first thing you do is take a deep belly breath to steady yourself. Or one of the grounding techniques that, like using your senses to just notice what you smell in the area. What do you hear? Are you listening to the music? You might want to, rub your hands on your skirt or your pants and just feel something smooth. But it gives you a second that you can detach from the drama and feelings and just speak your truth. But once again, begin with something positive. I really appreciate your thinking of me, Jill. I have been wanting to talk to you. Then you take responsibility. I should have spoken with you about this sooner, but even though we've done some fun things and I think the relationship is not what I'm looking for at this time, if she wants more information, perhaps you could offer to have a cup of coffee together and talk it through. Not blaming, using I statements, and taking responsibility in whatever way you can. I should have spoken sooner, or maybe I was not very good at communicating what was going on in my mind. This takes some of the burden off of the other person while getting your point across. Do not allow them to condemn you or abuse you. Just kindly and calmly repeat what you've said and then politely remove yourself from the conversation. I'm sorry that it couldn't work out. Don't let these conversations drag on and on so that they're not doing anyone any good. When what needed to be communicated has been communicated and you've given time for compassion and support, politely remove yourself, particularly if and when the conversation gets into accusing and negativity and blaming. There's no reason to let that continue. The main points are to be prepared, to resist blaming, to take responsibility whenever you can, and try and begin and end with something positive. Offer whatever help and support you can to make the news easier. But don't apologize for something that you're not sorry for and have no need to apologize. For example, you don't apologize that your kids can't go out with their friends. You have your reasons. You have your kids' best interests at heart, and you've made a decision that going out with a particular group to a particular place isn't good for them. Why would you apologize for that? They'll be angry and hurt and perhaps not understand. But if you lay the groundwork with knowledge, you tell them what you appreciate about them and affirm situations that you do approve of, like, I love when you can go to the mall with Molly. You guys seem to have so much fun, and you always call if you're going to be late. And I love for you to have fun. But this situation is different. I understand that they'll be drinking at this party, and that's against the law. And this particular situation, I just can't allow. But if you want to have Susan and Jane or Molly over for a sleepover, I'd be fine with that. Here, you did your homework. You investigated the party situation. You made your decision. You told her what you like. You told her why she couldn't go, and you offered an alternative. Take a deep breath and let yourself feel at peace. If she reacts badly, just gently and firmly repeat your decision and your alternative offer, and politely remove yourself from the conversation before it spirals downhill. We need to allow other people to have legitimate bad feelings and be okay with it. People are allowed to get angry. They're allowed to be sad. They're allowed to disagree or speak their opinion, and we need to allow them to do that. Not get abusive, but speak their opinion. You do not have to react. Just hold that space, and if it continues to get more abusive, quietly, calmly, step away. I'll be downstairs if you want to talk further. Something like that. So be prepared, be positive, be kind. Be direct, take responsibility, use I statements. Offer alternatives if necessary or helpful. Offer support and empathy. Allow emotion. Do not allow abuse. And know when to walk away. Offer to talk more later when they're in a better frame of mind if necessary. So you can see that there are all kinds of difficult conversations, but the principles are similar in how to address them. And if you find yourself in the receiving end of a difficult situation, you get fired, you get turned down for a date, your spouse had an affair, the principles are similar. You are only responsible for your responses, so make sure they're as clear and coherent as possible. When you receive bad news, take that soothing, deep belly breath. Deep breathing helps you calm down, removes toxins from your body, and gets the oxygen circulating in your brain. Remember, when you're angry or scared, you go into fight or flight mode, and your body flushes with adrenaline, and oxygen leaves your brain because it thinks you're in danger. That's when you want to get defensive or angry, or just get away. But when you take a deep breath, you're allowing the oxygen to circulate back into your brain so you can think more clearly. Then, reflect back what you think you heard, make sure you understand correctly, and then ask yourself, what can I do about that? If you're fired, you can ask your boss, is there anything I can do to redeem the situation? If the answer is no, then you'll need to first accept the situation. Railing against what has happened won't get you anywhere. Same thing if you get turned down for a date, or even if your spouse had an affair. First, you must accept the situation for what it is, not for what you want it to be. The sooner you can get to that place, the better. Once you can take a deep breath and feel the emotion, let it wash over you. Don't stuff it. You might even need to walk away for a minute to digest what you've heard, or a few minutes. And when you're ready, ask for the rest of the related information, whether it's a diagnosis, an affair, a downturn in the stock market. As soon as possible, go into what can be done about this mode. Ask questions using I statements. Say how you feel. I'm devastated, I'm terrified, I'm scared, I'm hurt, I'm angry. But I want to figure out what we can do about this. Can you help me? When the other person's not on the defensive, they're more likely to give more information and be more helpful. Negativity and resistance attracts more of the same. Honesty and straightforward problem-solving energy attracts more of the same. You always have a choice. Your call.